Hey folks, welcome back to the big barn build. Today it is the long awaited Carl the Crusher. The machine's here, he's made a start, he's doing some braking down the other end at the moment. Here is the machine itself. That's what you call a crusher. Anyway, more on that later. First up, I'm going around the farm like a map and trying to find any bits of rubble which, you know, this size or bigger, may as well get in the crush now. Alright, I think he's done all the packing. So, it's on with the crushing. Now some of you might wonder why on earth I'm like moving it, why can't we do it exactly where we need it so we don't have to shift it again, why don't I have the dumper underneath it catching it? We thought all that through and it just makes, well, one, the dumper's been playing up anyway and I don't really want to get stuck because it keeps on losing forward. So instead of that, I'm just pushing it to one side so I can come back in my own time and move it. Well, as you can see from those time lapses, it's quick progress. It shows what you get done with the right kit. You can imagine how long it would take if I had hired out some sort of small, I don't know, 6 foot high crusher, or even smaller. They're good, but you'd end up breaking everything down first anyway. I know Carl had to go through, he had to break up everything. Well, he didn't have to, I think it's probably just more efficient, but he broke everything down before he did it, and then any blocks he comes across that are still sort of 400, 500, he'll drop onto the slab and that'll break them. Well, would you believe it, we've done it. We've done all of this out. We haven't, I didn't do much at all. So it looks like the plan is working out. Carl's making it so we can, well, so he can get up on that pile like he is now, and we should, I'm guessing, have space for the crusher to go down that alley, and then if possible conveyor belt it up higher, so I don't know if that's adjustable, and end up with just one really neat big pile along that side. Problem is, the digger I've got is so small I can't reach up anything above, I don't know, a couple of meters, so it needs to be stacked at the point of coming out of that crusher. Right, Carl's now piled everything up. I kind of filled about over 3/4 of the width of this clamp. He's now managed to get up on top, which I was not going to do with a little digger I had. Reach down and pile everything into less than 1/2. That way he can get the big crusher down the side, and I'm hoping he can now guide it and shoot it into the corner and back out as he goes, and that way we'll end up with a nice kind of bank of stone down that right hand side. how the time lapse looks, but I think about halfway through that pile already. So unless I suddenly start quarrying a few boulders out of the farm, I'm pretty sure it's only a half day tomorrow, which is a good saving. Good morning, we are back on the big crush with the big barn build. Today, Carl's going to be coming back. He's going to finish the rest of the crushing. And I'm adding to the pile before he arrives, so I've made an early start. This section of wall over here is that one I mentioned yesterday that I wanted to take out. Everything else is going to stay because that's adding some rigidity, but also areas that we don't need to mess around with at the moment. But I'm down to a wheelbarrow because I don't trust Humpty Dumpty. If I take a dumper load out there and then I lose forward, I mean, I just end up being in the way. But before we make a start and it gets too noisy, I'll show you what was achieved yesterday. Of course, there's the other bit down below, which we can have a look at in a minute. This is how much is left. So I think he probably got through half of this. So over 2/3 of the way through the whole job in, well, about on schedule to what he predicted. It's as if he's done it before. I might get a chance to ask a few questions later, but I'll show you the mix. Basically, this at the moment is on its finest setting. Or, you know, least coarse, which makes it about type 1, maybe a few bits that are bigger than that. So there's enough for the fines. Fortunately, every time I was digging up the slab, I was getting a bit of the sand and type 1 from the barn in there. So that's helped because it's added a bit more in there. Some of the concrete crushes down and you end up with a mix. Some of it ends up kind of coming out quite clean as just even sized concrete chips, so they're not really that good for binding together. But the rest of this, you can see quite a lot of the fines in there, so that's all good. Now I caught a short clip of it on my phone, but the rebar, some of the reinforced steel mesh that was in that last bay, when it gets crushed, it crushes it with the steel, and underneath this section here is a big plate magnet. Well, you can see some of the steel there that's stuck on. And it basically, as all the crushed stuff is coming along this conveyor, this can be lowered, but I don't know if it will pick up. I don't want to get my GoPro too close, it might fry the... So it's coming along on this belt here, and it gets picked up onto there, which is pretty cool. Then we put a wheelbarrow here. You can then run this conveyor, and all the steel comes across and drops off the end here when the magnet plate stops, drops off the end into the wheelbarrow. Happy days. Now, what he was saying yesterday is if you're doing loads of reinforced steel, you can actually be crushing and keeping this running, so it's just constantly flinging the steel out into a pile beside, which is okay as long as you're doing a big linear movement, I guess, and you end up with the steel rebar on a strip. But either way, we don't need to do that. There's not enough to worry about. The only thing we did have to worry about is the chunks of RSJ, which some of them must have been left in the slab. I thought I took out most of them because on the other side there were those cow feed barriers, and anyway, he has been spotting them and putting them behind him each time, but he missed one, so that made its way in. It did a good job at trying to crush it. So they're not massive, but obviously they're not going to crush. So there you go. That one I think looks like it's been through and been spat out, but another one got in and got mangled. Which is less to do with the jaws, I think he was saying. It's not going to damage those as such because they're just two big plates, but it can damage the belt because if it jams and the belts keep turning, it can gash them, and we don't want that because I'm going to guess one of these big conveyors is not particularly cheap. We're going to do a flying visit down the other end and I'll show you how that ended up yesterday. Basically, I'm just putting off wheelbarrowing tons of blocks. Right, I'll try and be a bit quieter this end, otherwise the goats are going to hear me and you'll get deafened. But it's a smaller pile than it was. You remember all this stacked up high? That's all been crushed to here. Well, he started that end and worked along, and this is what we've ended up with. I don't know what we are in tonnage there, But this stuff I think is going to bind even better. This has got more of the fines. This was poorer quality concrete because some of it came out of the old yard. So there's all that. And there's another 20 or 30 tons there. I swept up as I went. Well done me. I'm not sure you're going to want to come out today because it's stinking wet. Maybe go out this afternoon. I have got a big sack of grains for you though. Yes. The barn, you can see where that green line is. That's actually where our slab height is. So we are quite a bit lower here. So there is space here to bring it up. Or we just accept that we're going to have a lower path running along here. There's no problem either way. In actual fact, it's probably better to keep, well, although that wall will be new, it's better to keep as much of the wall above ground as we can. Progress at least. Right, back to the undersized wheelbarrow. I think that's it, job done. Obviously got to get all this kit back round, but it's just like a big remote control car. I think he's going to take it around and out here. We just need to take a big wide bend so I don't chew it up too much. Now hang on, I've just let you out, you little, no, don't even think about it. You go for me and you get back in your small run. You go back in your small pen. Go on. Don't, no. Hey, you, no, hey. You'll be burgers before you know it. No, just go off. No. Well, what did you make of that? That's impressive stuff, isn't it? It's amazing what you can get done when you've got the right gear. Turned out to be just over a day and a half of Carl's time here with the machines, and it just amazing work and amazing to see it done, really. biggest surprise for me, apart from how efficient it was doing all the crushing, is the volume. It did not reduce at all. If anything, it feels like more. We had, you know, nearly all of this full, about 3/4 wide, but it hasn't shrunk down much. I thought there'd be loads of voids, there was hollow blocks, there was big bits of slabs. I thought by the time it was all crushed down, it was gonna shrink by half, and it didn't. But I'm gonna leave you with a bit of a question for anyone who's good at estimating, and I think we'll do a bit of a goodie bag, whoever gets the closest guess based on the what we've worked out. So Carl gave me his estimate. He also measured the pile and used a few kind of volumetric calculators or whatever to work out his tonnage. But if you want to put your guess in down in the comment section for how much in metric tons there is here and the smaller section down on the south end, I'll let you know in the next video, because I'll do a bit of a break down the figures of how much it costs to get all the crushing done, how much we saved by not having all of the waste material taken off site, and how much we saved again by not needing to buy back in this material to lay our track and hard standings around the buildings. So there you go. If you want to leave a guess down in the comment section, and I think you'll be surprised. So I'm going to leave that for a separate video because it'll be part and parcel of another episode. This was more about the actual crushing. I'm going to put a link to Carl's business down in the description. I said I'd put a link there. It sounds like he's a busy man and has, you know, plenty going on, but he was able to fit us in. So if you are in kind of Gloucestershire, Herefordshire, Worcestershire sort of area, then that might be something that he can help with. Obviously it helps if you've got a bit of space to be able to do it. But I'll leave it there. Thank you all for watching as always. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.